This video is all about orchid flowers and interesting information about them. This right here is a healthy orchid flower. This orchid flower is from a miniature cymbidium and it is about 2 inches across. When we look at this flower, I'm going to point out different parts of it. At the top here we've got the dorsal sepal. Here we've got a petal. Here we've got another petal. This is a lateral sepal down here. This is another lateral sepal. This right here, this thing is called the column. This is called the anther, and this is called the stigma. This is the lamina callus in here, this yellow part. Now, I'm going to take apart this orchid flower so you can look at different parts. First, I'm going to take off a lateral sepal. Okay. Next, I'm going to take off another lateral sepal to help you learn about these parts. This up here is the dorsal sepal that I'm taking off. This is a petal. Okay. This is another orchid petal that I'm taking off. This right here with the lamina callus in the middle, this is the labellum or the lip of the orchid. Okay. And take that off. Now we're left with basically the column here. And then we also have the anther and the stigma. So let's take off the stigma. Okay. You can see pollen underneath there in the orchid flower. Let's take off the pollen. If you can see that, let me try to bring it closer. Okay. It's kind of yellow. And then the last part here, where we're left with it with the column of the orchid, is you can just take that off, and then that's the column. That's the rest of the orchid flower. That was the healthy orchid flower we were just looking at. Next we're going to look at an orchid flower that's slightly wilting, just from age and also lack of humidity. You can see it's just starting to kind of cup in on the leaves, and it's turning kind of a deep burgundy red on the bottom here, which is the lip or labellum. Okay? As this one kind of shrinks, it's going to fade away and soon look like this. Okay? And then soon after this, it's going to look like this, at which point it will actually drop off the plant. The reasons for orchids having the flowers wither like this would be, definitely needing more humidity, so you can put trays of rocks with water or humidity trays around the orchid. Other reasons for the orchid having this happen would be environmental conditions, such as smog or pollution, or very much, hot air coming from your furnace or something like that. You can see it's getting kind of dried out and shriveled, this one. Okay. Here's a bud that normally would be ready to open, but this one's actually shriveling because it's been too dry. So if we open it up, instead of it being nice and plump and tender, you can see it's just kind of, just kind of dried out. Okay. So humidity is definitely key in orchid care, as you can see on these different orchids we've been looking at. And, to keep a nice big full orchid flower on for a very long time, humidity tray or rocks, and keeping your environmental conditions such as your heater not blowing on your orchid, keeping a little bit of air movement but not hot air movement. Watering your orchid definitely helps, making sure that it's not overwatered or underwatered, meaning that you check the mix to make sure it's not heavily sitting in water all the time. You can stick your finger in the pot to see if it's moist. You can stick a pencil in. You can use a humidity meter. Things like that. Anyway, hopefully this helped, this tour of an orchid flower, and stay tuned. There will be more interesting videos that we're going to be coming up with in coming days and weeks and months. Alright, bye-bye.